Ukraine set a deadly trap for Russia's largest ammunition supply lines. At first, it looked like an ordinary convoy moving through quiet roads, but what happened in the next few minutes shocked everyone watching and changed the balance on the battlefield. Russia thought it was safe. Ukraine proved otherwise. At 9:45 a.m., a Russian convoy of 6 Ural trucks loaded with ammunition rolled into a refueling stop along Route P66 near Kreminna. Each of these trucks was heavy with cargo. Tons of artillery shells, rockets, and fuses stacked from floor to ceiling. The shipment was bound for Russian artillery batteries positioned further east in Luhansk, where Moscow's forces were preparing fresh barrages against Ukrainian defensive lines. To Russian commanders, this convoy was routine, just another resupply run that kept their war machine fed and firing. But what they didn't know was that for the last 3 days, Ukrainian operators had been tracking their every move. The convoy had begun its journey deep inside occupied territory, moving only at night to avoid detection. Satellite surveillance from Ukraine's western partners, combined with drones from the 14th Tactical UAV Regiment, followed them as they left Belgorod, crossed into Donbass, and made their way south. Signals intelligence confirmed the shipment's importance. This wasn't small arms or food rations. Inside the 6 trucks were nearly 45 tons of ammunition, the very shells used to pound Ukrainian trenches daily. It was a high-value target, one that could cripple Russian operations if destroyed. By morning, the convoy halted near Kreminna. The trucks pulled off the main road into a clearing that served as a temporary rest point. Drivers climbed out, stretching their legs, lighting cigarettes, and checking fuel levels. Escorts armed with rifles lounged casually, assuming the area was safe. No fixed Russian air defenses were nearby. No Pantsir anti-aircraft systems, no jammers, no radar units. The convoy was exposed, completely vulnerable in the open. High above, Ukrainian drones were already circling. A modified Mavic 3 quadcopter streamed infrared video back to the command post. On the operator's screen, 6 glowing heat signatures marked the trucks lined neatly in formation, engines still idled faintly, giving away their positions. From the perspective of the drone team, it was a textbook cluster target. Everything bunched close together, no camouflage, no spacing to reduce blast damage. Ukraine had waited for this exact moment, letting the trucks roll just far enough to move outside the umbrella of Russia's stronger air defenses before striking. The order was given: launch the attack. From a hidden site less than 15 kilometers away, 2 FPV suicide drones were released. Each was armed with a PG-7 VL-shaped charge, a warhead designed to pierce steel and ignite whatever was inside. The drones flew low, skimming treetops at about 40 feet, combining GPS guidance with inertial navigation to resist electronic jamming. Their small engines buzzed faintly, but at speeds of 80 miles per hour, they were closing fast. The Russian drivers and escorts had no idea what was coming. To them, it was just another morning stop. To Ukraine, it was the kill zone. For days leading up to this ambush, Ukraine's 14th Tactical UAV Regiment had studied every movement of the Russian convoy. Reconnaissance drones shadowed them from high altitude, while ground spotters hidden in nearby villages confirmed routes, fuel stops, and resting points. Signals intercept teams picked up chatter between Russian units, eventually confirming that the 6 trucks carried nearly 45 tons of ammunition bound for heavy artillery near Svatove and Kreminna. This wasn't ordinary cargo. It was the backbone of Russia's firepower in the sector, enough shells and rockets to sustain weeks of bombardment. Taking out the convoy would mean silencing those guns before they could pound Ukrainian trenches. The ambush site was chosen carefully. The stretch of road near Kreminna was outside the umbrella of Russian fixed air defense networks. S-300 and Buk M3 batteries positioned further north couldn't cover it, and local units had only small arms and a few shoulder-fired Igla manpads. That meant once the trucks rolled into this zone, they would be naked to the sky. Ukrainian planners knew this was the gap to exploit. By letting the convoy move deep enough without interference, they ensured Russia's escort units would lower their guard. At the temporary refueling stop, the convoy parked in a tight cluster, drivers stepping out casually as if it were just another day. Some leaned against their trucks smoking. Others checked tires and fuel drums. A few escort soldiers, armed with rifles, scanned the tree lines but showed no urgency. None expected a strike here. They believed Ukrainian forces were too busy fighting on the front line to hit supply lines so far back. It was the same overconfidence that had already cost Russia dozens of depots and fuel trains in recent months. Ukrainian operators, watching in real time through infrared drone cameras, saw everything. The engines still radiated heat, glowing like bright markers against the cool morning background. The trucks sat close together, a critical mistake that amplified the risk of a chain reaction if one was hit. To the drone crews, it looked like a row of dominoes waiting to fall. The command post quickly finalized attack coordinates, transmitting them to a forward drone unit already waiting in a concealed position. The weapons of choice were FPV suicide drones, cheap and small, but devastatingly effective. Each carried a shaped charge warhead designed to punch through armor or ignite munitions. Launched from hidden catapults, they raced forward, hugging the terrain to avoid radar. Their guidance systems combined GPS with inertial navigation, making them resilient against electronic warfare jamming. At just 40 feet altitude, they were invisible until the last moments. Russian defenses were minimal. A handful of troops carried AK rifles, while a single Igla operator sat half asleep near the rear truck. No jammers were active. No radar swept the sky. To Ukraine's operators, it was almost too easy. The convoy was blind, unprotected, and sitting in the open. Ukraine had built the perfect trap, and now the time had come to spring it. The first move came at exactly 9:47 a.m. when a modified Mavic 3 quadcopter, fitted with infrared sensors, hovered high above the refueling stop. From its camera feed, every truck glowed on the operator's screen. The engines were still warm, exhaust pipes shimmering like beacons in the cool morning air. 6 Ural transport trucks sat in formation, 3 in front, 3 behind, all lined up in a way that made them perfect for a concentrated strike. The escort troops lounged nearby, rifles slung casually, completely unaware that death was seconds away. The order was given. 2 FPV suicide drones shot forward from a concealed launch site less than 5 miles away. Each was armed with a PG-7VL-shaped charge, the same warhead used by rocket-propelled grenades, only now mounted on fast and agile drones. Skimming the treetops at speeds over 80 miles per hour, they raced toward the convoy. To Russian troops on the ground, the faint buzzing was the only warning they would get. By the time they looked up, the drones were already closing in. Gunfire erupted. Escort soldiers panicked and fired bursts from their AK rifles into the sky. Tracer rounds arced wildly, but none came close. The drones flew low and fast, weaving between the smoke from parked engines and trees at the roadside. An Igla operator tried to ready his launcher, but the system was built for aircraft, not small drones. He never got a lock. The convoy was effectively defenseless. The first drone went straight for the center of the formation, slamming into the third truck, the critical middle point. The shaped charge cut through steel like paper before detonating the stacked artillery shells inside. In an instant, the truck became a fireball, a massive plume of orange and black erupting upward. The blast tore through the 2 trucks parked closest, setting them ablaze. Shrapnel sliced through soldiers standing nearby, sending men sprawling to the dirt. The second drone made a wide loop, diving from the flank toward the rear truck. Soldiers screamed warnings, but it was too late. The drone smashed into the fuel drums strapped to the back, igniting them in a blinding explosion. The detonation trapped the convoy between 2 infernos, the burning front section and the shattered rear. There was no way forward and no way back. The kill zone was sealed. Chaos took over. Russian soldiers scattered, some crawling into ditches, others running blindly across the road. Ammunition inside the trucks began cooking off, shells popping like fireworks before exploding into deadly blasts. Within seconds, the entire site turned into a battlefield of fire and shrapnel. Ukrainian operators, watching from the drone feed, confirmed the ambush was working exactly as planned. By 9:53 a.m., the battlefield was unrecognizable. What began as 6 trucks neatly parked in a refueling stop was now a smoking crater littered with wreckage and debris. Flames engulfed every vehicle, their steel frames twisted and broken. The ammunition loads continued to detonate in violent bursts, each secondary explosion rattling the ground for hundreds of meters. The black smoke climbed into the morning sky, so thick it could be seen from more than 10 miles away. Ukrainian troops monitoring the live feed didn't need confirmation. The convoy had been completely annihilated. The casualty toll was severe. Estimates suggested at least 20 to 25 Russian personnel were lost instantly, including drivers, escorts, and logistics officers. Several who survived the first blasts were caught in the follow-up chain reactions, leaving little chance for recovery. Those who fled on foot were cut down by shrapnel or later picked off by follow-up drones. None of the ammunition made it to its destination. In total, nearly 45 tons of shells, rockets, and fuses were destroyed before they could ever reach frontline Russian artillery units. The impact went far beyond the flames. Route P66, the critical artery linking Crimea to other supply hubs in Luhansk, was shut down for days. Explosive ordnance disposal teams were forced to comb through the area to remove unexploded shells scattered across fields and ditches. Russian resupply operations along the corridor were halted, forcing commanders to reroute convoys on longer, more vulnerable paths. This delay meant artillery batteries on the front received no fresh shells, weakening their ability to sustain pressure on Ukrainian positions. On social media, footage from local villagers quickly spread, black columns of smoke rising, distant fireballs flashing, and the thunder of ammunition detonations echoing in the background. Russian state media tried to downplay the event, claiming the losses were minimal, but the scale of the destruction was impossible to hide. Satellite imagery released the next morning confirmed what Ukraine already knew. All 6 trucks had been reduced to ashes. For Ukraine, this ambush was more than a battlefield win. It was a warning sent directly to Russia's logistics chain. Convoys once considered safe in rear areas were no longer untouchable. Every fuel truck, every ammo column, every support vehicle was now a moving target for drones. With a few $1,000s worth of modified UAVs, Ukraine had wiped out millions of dollars in Russian supplies. The message was simple and brutal. If Russia tried to push ammunition through unsecured routes, Ukraine would find them, wait patiently, and then crush them without mercy. Every kilometer of road, every rail junction, every refueling stop was a potential death trap. And with each destroyed convoy, Russia's war machine weakened a little more. This was only the beginning. If it were you, what do you think sealed the convoy's fate? Was it Ukraine's patience in setting the perfect trap, or Russia's blind confidence that led them straight into it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Every idea helps us see how battles are truly decided. If you found this video valuable, hit like and subscribe so you won't miss our next frontline breakdown. This is Navy Point, where every battle tells a story. See you on the next mission.